title, The Ultimate Parenting Checklist. The Ultimate Parenting Checklist, Mrs. Buhari. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adebide.
Correct. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Great.
Good afternoon, parents. I'm so excited to be here today to share experience of parenting. Sababa today got it right to say that there is no manual for parenting. There is no manual. And you get to see it, you get to feel it, you experience it, and then you know which type of parent you really are. I just get into the topic, which is the ultimate checklist. And I'll say, just note it down, whatever I say that seems like something you can tick as you do. Because I want to start with saying that there is really no school you go to learn how to parent your child. And if you have 2 children, then it means you have 2 schools of thought. You have 2 schools to pass through. And I just pray that you graduate. That is from my own experience. Because for every child, parenting is different. You can't say that I have succeeded with one, and so I will succeed with the other. But we can only pray that we succeed with all. So I would say that in this day, parenting has come to be a 24-hour job. So there is no rest. The moment you have a child to care for, then you know that you are with that child all throughout the day. Even when you are not there physically, you are thinking about that child and you are looking at ways to support that child. It is more challenging now because the generation that we have, the generation of the children that we have now, they are growing up in a different way from the way we were raised. So we cannot raise our children the way our own parents raised us. For example, I will use myself as an example. My own parents were very strict. They are still strict. I still have my parents. Elderly, my father is almost 90. In a few months, he'll be 90. My mother is over 80. And they're still their very strict self. And looking back, I'm like, oh, was it the strictness that really made me to be who I am today? I cannot answer yes or no. But I know that there were a lot of things they did to me that shaped my lifestyle today. And I have also, as a parent now, thought through the ways that they raised me, and I've picked the ones that can work for my own children. Not all as well. I have picked the ones, especially for individuals. As I raised my children, I saw the tips that worked with each one of them, and I used it. The issues are different, and so they may look similar in terms of, oh, we were once children, and that's what parents of nowadays say. We were once children, we didn't behave like this. But I would say that the challenges that our children of these days face are different. They may look like what we faced, but they are facing them in different environments. So there are some key things that have really, really been issues that parents face that affect how they raise their children. Cost of living is one of it. The impact of wages, how do I raise my children and still have the standards that I want for them without going away from some of my values. You have the social media, the technology, you have a lot that is going on with us these days. But with all of it, we still have to look at what are the values that we as parents hold in high esteem. And such values are the things that we pass on to our children. We know that values are sourced from different areas. We have the family, the school, the religious organization, we have the society. But even at that, as children get to mix with people in the society and they pick their values from there, they hold on to some which they will always be known for. And so that's why the saying of charity begins at home still remains apt. So what to give to your children at home is what they take out. So even when they pick some things in the society, they still remember what they grow up with, what your own values are. What things will you permit? What things will you not allow? They know. So when we look at the parenting styles that we have like there are 4 major ones that people look at. They said we have a permissive parent, we could have an authoritative parent, we could have the neglectful one, and the authoritarian. If we take them one after the other, the permissive parent will only go with what the child wants. The child is always right. Whatever you want, I'll give to you. I don't want my child to suffer. My child must be this. He must have everything. Oh, he must have this. Nothing. I suffered as a child. I cannot allow my children to suffer. So the permissive parent will only do what the child wants. And he will rarely, enforce rules. There are no rules around the permissive parent. The child does everything. You won't overindulge the child. Yeah, we also have the authoritative parent. That one will solve problems. Once you have issues, it has to be solved together with the child. You sit with your child. So this is issue. Let's talk about it. So the authoritative parent will set clear rules and say, okay, these are the rules in this house. Let's go by what, and then even when you are setting the rules, you set it with the child so that there are sanctions for violating the rules. The child already knows that, oh, if I go this way, no, this is the sanction attached to it. And so together you are looking out and the expectations are there. You are both looking out for where you are going to fail, and then you check. There are checks and balances. There is also room for communication with the authoritative parent. And there are consequences for violating rules. We also have the neglectful parent who doesn't care. It doesn't involve the child. It doesn't protect the child in any way, anything, just leave, no guidance of any sort. Is indifferent whether the child does anything or not. The neglectful parent is always thinking about his or herself. I'm out for my business. I don't care. If you like, take care of yourself. If you like, don't do anything. That's your business. I have to pursue my own career. I have to pursue everything I want. So the neglectful parent does not have any emotional attachment to the child and does not even look at the behavioral needs of the child. And then we have the authoritarian. His parent, everything must be done the way I want it as the parent. The child doesn't have a say. You set strict rules. You are not flexible at all. And then the communication channel is just one way. Once I say this, that is it. You can't change it. Your children even don't have access to you. And it's like, oh, they hug when they notice that daddy is coming in or mommy is about to get home from work. They quickly start doing things that you want to see. So they do things that you want to see, not necessarily what they are not natural with you. So those 4 types of parenting, you find out that depending on the style you use, that's the type of child you would end up having. So out of the 4, you find out if you are the permissive parent, your child will always draw out things. And so when they are misled by people around them, they still carry on. They still carry on. You are not there to guide them. You are not even there to say, okay, let's talk about this behavior that you have put up. And so the child just goes on until the child misses it outside and is brought back home, like it used to happen in the olden days. You have people in the community, everybody is your father, everybody is your mother. Go the wrong way, they check you. Your parents are not the only people that take care of you. They are not the only ones that can check you when you are going the wrong way. But as the authoritative parent, you give room for both ways, both sides. You are able to listen to your child, and your child will be able to listen. The neglectful parent, nothing happens. The neglectful parent doesn't even know the child at all. Many times, the child goes to other people to discuss their needs. So you just find out when they are now broken, and you are like, oh my goodness, where have I been? So having talked about the styles, I now look at the 21st century parents. Where are we? Where are our children? What do our children need from us? We as 21st century parents, we need to be adaptive and adaptable, resilient, and intuitive in this era of rapid world change. There's so much uncertainty around the world. And if we parents neglect what we see, there's immense pressure. And we need to prepare our children for the future that we also don't even know what it has in store. Because what we see these days, we just sit and say, what does the future have in store for these young people that are coming up? We are scared. So as parents bringing up children in the 21st century, we need to create an interesting environment for our children to. We need to make sure that they are always around us for us to support them. Let's make sure that we have this skill, observation skills. Be able to observe your child and see when that child is reacting to things. The change may not be so obvious. Sometimes it's just one child that has been all over the place and has suddenly withdrawn. That withdrawal, you may be taking it as, oh, why are you forming? That they will say these days. Why are you forming? I don't have your time, oh. But if you look keenly at that child, you may be able to say, there's something wrong. Let me look deeply. Let me ask questions. You must be a parent that asks questions. Before you can be a parent that asks questions, you must have developed a rapport, a relationship of communication with your child. You must be open. You must have listening skills. When your child is ready to talk, you must not interject. You must listen and listen good so that you can pick even non-verbal cues. When your child is talking to you, you are seeing the way the child is making some signs that he or she is not saying certain things out, but you can read it from the body language. Then you begin to note those things. You, even as a parent, you must be close enough to your children so that they can confide in you. And let me put that confidential aspect. Let me be clear on it. It's not always easy for your child to have you as a confidant, because sometimes you may want to break it. That issue of confidentiality, you may want to break it when you need help yourself. But before you break that confidentiality, you must get the assurance of your child. You must get the consent of your child that in this area, we need help. And you have to be sincere enough with your child that I am not able to provide this help at this time. I also need to seek help from people that are more professional or more experienced in this area, depending on what type of health you are looking at. And even for all of the things that we want to see in our children, let's model acceptable behavior. So for parents of these days, we say a lot of things, but we do different things. We do not model what we say. So something as simple as keep your environment clean at all times. Those are the rules in the house. But you go out with your children and you take something in the car and you throw it out of the window. And the children are like, oh my goodness, this is mommy that wants us to keep the environment clean. What's she doing? Or what's daddy doing? So if we say things, if we want to see things in our children, we must model that kind of behavior. So that when they see us act, they are saying that, oh, it's consistent with what we are saying. We should not allow our children to see that we do things that are contradictory to what we say. And you also have to be somebody that is sincere with yourself. And let your children know your limits. Let them know where you cannot go beyond. For example, in this day of the crisis around the world and even in the country, people are not able to afford a lot of things. When you teach your children to be contented with things that they have, let them know how far you can go. Contentment goes beyond now. It helps them in the future when you are not there. It helps them on the workspace. When they are faced with challenges of taking decisions around their integrity, if you have brought them up with those values, it will work for them in the future. So parents think that once I provide for my children now, in the future, take care of themselves. No. The way you talk about family finances, what you can afford, how you should not go out and be looking out at other people, that people are raised differently, and it is about what you as their parents can. They may grow up and be successful. That's prayer. But let them have that value of integrity, contentment in them now. It will help them in the future. There are little things that you must look out and correct immediately it happens. For example, your children, they are young, they go to school, they come back home. In their bags, you find things that you did not buy for them. Immediately tell them to return it. Ask questions about things. Don't look the other way. If you look the other way, tomorrow, if you're always defending your children now, no, my child cannot take this. No, you did not do that. You will hire a lawyer tomorrow to defend them. So make sure that whatever behavior you do not want to see, the moment you see it, correct it. Don't protect your child in such a way that the child will think, oh yes, I can do anything, and my mom or my dad will always be at my back. Manners. The manners you expect your children to display outside, correct those manners in the house. If you cannot stand them talking over food when they are maybe having lunch outside the home, another family or so, you should correct from home. So when they do it at home, it will not be acceptable. And they know already when they go out to also put up acceptable behavior. Social media is a very, very huge challenge with young people now. And if you're a 21st century parent, you must know that you have to move into social media with your children. If you are saying that, oh, me, I'm old school, oh, I cannot even come and kill myself about social media, there's too much on it. Yes, but your children are there. And the fact that they are there, you have to be there to support them, to see that they do not go astray, to see that they are not mixing with people that can, get them into trouble. They are not being bullied. They are not they are not getting into wrong hands. So you also must be on the social media platforms that your children have and make sure that you are guiding them as the case may be. You give access, but control the access. And give them tips to use even when they get into the hands of predators online. I was talking about acceptable behavior. Your children interrupt you when you're talking, and you think that, oh, that's the way he behaves, don't mind him. No, 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 that will not be accepted outside. When he gets to school or he gets to another place and somebody corrects, then you will be embarrassed. So if you have your children coming up with such behavior, make sure that you already correct them and talk about it. Tell them why it's wrong. And then begin to help them to get over it. If your children are in boarding house, they don't stay with you. When you visit them, ask them questions about what is happening to them. Ensure that they open up so that they don't fall victim of bullying, harassment, or any kind of thing that happens to children when they are not in the midst of caregivers. I always tell people that the kind of what you want for your children, start praying for them for those things even before you have your children. If you want to have, this is my child to be a successful engineer, I want my child to be a successful teacher, start praying for that child even from the time the child is in your womb. When your child is born, if you pray for the kind of wife you want your child to have. You want the kind of grandchildren you want to have, start praying for it. You cannot underestimate or overestimate the power of prayer. Anything you do as a parent, make sure that you are a praying parent. Because everything that we have talked about in the last 20, 25 minutes, it's not about you. It's about the grace of God helping you to pull through all of those things. It's good to be on a summit like this, where parents will be sharing ideas, where you'll be learning from other people, their experiences. Don't say, don't get so overwhelmed and give up. No, you can't give up. You can't afford to give up on your children. Even when they turn out the way you do not want, you continue to encourage them. You can seek help from counselors. You can seek help from your religious leaders. You can get help from people, psychologists, because children will not all turn out the same way. Just make sure that whatever you do, you are supporting your child. Do not leave them to do everything in any way. Just, I cannot come and kill myself. It's good for you to be there now so that in the future you can have rest. We're looking at the future now and we're not sure of what's going to be like. The world of work is changing. The children you are preparing now, you're not preparing them for office jobs. So make sure that you build their skills around things that you will be proud of them in the future. And you will sit back and have rest. You will sit back and say, God, I thank you that you have led me thus far. So make sure that you are also consulting with people that you keep your children with. People that mingle with your children. Know their friends. Ask their friends to come home. Be friends with them. You can go to your child's school and play with their friends. There you can have ideas of who they mingle with. And I'm sure that with all of this, you'll be glad that you have done the best you can. And the issues are many. Addiction, and so many issues. But for everyone, if your child sees you as a friend, you will be always on top of the game, and you'll be there to support your child. Thank you very much for listening. I'll be open to questions. Thank you.
Fantastic. Can we have a round of applause for Mrs. Buhari? A round of applause. If you can use your emoticons, please use them. If you want to unmute and clap, please do so. Thank you very much. You can't have it served on a platter more than it has been dished out here. Please, I would like to quickly say that if you are not speaking, ensure you are muted. Please ensure you are muted if you are not speaking. Very important. In the next 10 minutes, we would like to take questions. But before we go to questions, let me quickly mention one or two things I heard while Mrs. Buhari was speaking. She said, for every child, parenting is different. For every child, parenting is different. Wow. A lot of us say we were once children, but she reminded us that the challenges we had then is different from the challenges they are having now. They're two different worlds. So don't assume that what you faced then is what they are facing now. No. Charity begins at home is still very apt. Whatever you want to teach your child, ensure you are teaching at home. She gave us 4 major parenting styles. The permissive parent, which is everything must be fine. My child must be okay. Or are you the authoritative parent who will sit down together with the child and you will set rules together and consequences together? Or are you the authoritarian who says, you must abide by my rules alone, just my rules? Or are you the neglectful parent? Please mute if you are not speaking. Mute if you are not speaking. Mute if you are not speaking. Now you see, I have to say that almost 3 times. But if a child does that, you be the first to say, what do you mean? Why are you talking when they are talking? All right. If you are the neglectful parent, anything goes. Please mute. Okay, Zoom master, kindly mute all those that are not speaking. Kindly mute them. Thank you. She also told us that in those days we had community parenting. Community parenting. It wasn't just this, if you touch my child today, then heaven will fall. No, in those days, everybody helps to correct that child. And it made us turn out good. She told us, as parents, we need to be adaptable, resilient, and intuitive. Very profound. Adaptable, resilient, and intuitive. She says, observation skill, we need to build it. Observation skill. Be a question-asking parent. Interesting. Develop a communication relationship with your child. So don't be the one that always speaks and the child is always looking like a... Ensure you communicate, you speak, you engage your child. Get consent from the child if you are going to break confidentiality. She said a lot of things. Finally, she said you must be a praying parent. The manufacturer that created the phone tells you how the phone is used. So the manufacturer that created you, that created us, that created the child, that gave him or her to you, is the best person that can tell you the best way to tune and ensure the child comes out perfect. After trying all your personal efforts, ensure you connect with your God and always pray for your child and pray for yourself. One I cannot forget is that she said, be your child's friend. If you guess what I mean. Be the friend of your child's friend. Be the friend. So those that child you are following is a nonsense boy. He's a but you don't even know the child. Be the friend of your child. Be the friend of your child's friend. That is your child's friend. You must also be their friend. So you have 2 friends, your child number 1, then his or her friend number 2. At this juncture, I would like to open up that within the next 10 minutes or 8 minutes thereabouts, we are going to take questions. Please, if you like to ask questions, if you have any questions for our keynote speaker, kindly raise up your hands. We are going to take the ones that we are able to take within the time frame, and the time is now. So I'll look out for your hands raised. Questions, questions, questions. Let me see. Do I see questions? I'm not seeing anybody raising up there. Okay, I see a question. I see a question. Let me see. Let me read that. Yes, the question is, how do we build resilience as parents? It can be tiring sometimes when the child isn't improving as you wish. Thank you very much for this question. I love this question. Thank you very much. Mrs. Wari, again, the question is, how do we build resilience as parents? It can be tiring sometimes when the child isn't improving as you wish. Kindly help us with that.
Okay, thank you very much for that question. Like I do with I'm a teacher, so I do a lot of building resilience with my children, with my students. And there's this push through mantra that we always, affirmation that we always say, that what if it's too hard? I'm going to push through. So as parents, we must learn to, if you have used a particular method, if you have used a strategy with a child and is constantly still doing the same thing, you have to change your style. So if you correct a child in a particular way and it's the same way, but you believe that is the best way, you still continue to use that style. If the child does not change, you must change your strategy. It must mean that that strategy is not working for that child. You know, I said something about changing. Parenting is about one child. You cannot use one style of parenting for 4 children if you have 4. You will observe that your children have various kinds of behavior. They come up with different types of character. And it is important that, you see, for every kind of training you give a child, character matters. No matter who you become in life, if you don't have a good character, people will just look at you and you are nobody. So when your child is not turning out well, you have to continue to use different strategies. You have to play out this, play out that. And that's why I said, if you need support, meet with people that have done things, or people that work, maybe educational psychologists, or people that know how to work on different behaviors, and try it out with your child. Don't say, okay, for instance, I was brought up in an environment where my father, the only way he knew how to correct a child was to beat that child. So I received a lot of beating. And when I was raising my children, the older ones, I was beating them as well. And then it got to a stage and I found out that for a particular child that I raised, beating was not the answer to solve the problem. Was constantly doing the same thing that I didn't want her to do. So I had to change the strategy. And then with my last child, I decided that I wanted to see if I could raise a child without beating. And so for my last child, I've never beaten her. She was never beaten. She's 22 years old today, and she has never been beaten. And we have been using different strategies to correct and to discipline. And that's why I said, if I continue to beat, I recognized at that point that beating was no longer solving the problem. There were other issues that I had to deal with. I needed to counsel. I needed to do a lot of getting closer to that child. I needed to be more friendly. My child needed to see that she could share things with me without fear. But when my older children were being raised, they were not even talking. They would just be like, let's do this thing. Or if you don't do it like this, mommy will just beat the hell out of you. Or that once daddy gets in and nothing is done, he removes his belt. But with new learning, I got to see that you can discipline a child, you can actually correct a child when you change your strategy. And so with my students too, I had to change my strategy. So even when the government, the state government policy came up and said, don't use cane in school, it was easy for me to transit into that. And as a school head, in my school, it is no cane policy. Yet our students get disciplined in other ways. So if the parents cannot afford to give up, you have to keep on pushing through. You have to keep on trying out different ways of correcting a child. And one day you will get there.
Profound, profound. Thank you very much. Giving up is not an option. As a parent, giving up is not an option. And I like what you said, where you mentioned that you have to change strategy. If you don't take anything away from today's session, please take that away. When you are trying to change a particular habit of a child, and everything you do seems like you're not getting it right, then that is the time to what? Change strategy. I am learning a lot. I'm learning a lot already. Change strategy. And I'm amazed. I'm amazed. I see a lot of comments saying, wow, you have a 22-year-old child that has never been beaten. Wow. 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 3 times. And I'm saying wow because sometimes I'm married to a lady that she's 30-something years now, and she says she was never beaten. And I just look at her, what do you mean? You're just telling me stories. So now when you say it, I feel, so it's possible. Mrs. Buhari, one no hour, they beat us. Chai. Growing up, I was beaten, but we are better for it. But now I'm learning that you can actually try to bring up a child without beating. I will try. I know it will be hard for me, but I'll try. I'll try. Giving up is not an option. Do we have any other question? A few minutes before we move to the next session. Question. So I see this. If you have issues with parenting, move with more experience, people that are more experienced and knowledgeable. Yeah, I get that. Again, never be. So I don't see any other questions. So I'll take it that we are all good with this session. Please unmute your mic and give. Oh, someone raised. Omobola Kuye raised her hand. Okay. Omobola Kuye, please, over to you. You have the floor for your question.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mrs. Sorry, the lecturer, I've forgotten the name right now. Okay, so now I have a child who is like 4 years old. No matter how much you talk to her, you know, she's not ready to like respond to what you're saying. Even if you try to like pet her, she's just insistent and she's just there. She's not ready to do anything. And this is a child who has challenges in class. No matter how much you try to like help the child, she's just adamant, this is my way and that's the way I want it. How can I help such child without having to beat her anyway?
Thank you very much, Omobola Kuye. Have you tried to check if she has challenges, maybe learning disability, or does she have speech disability or anything? Because sometimes we look at children as being stubborn, yet they are going through a lot. So if, for instance, my second child was developed very, very late, a bit late. So he wouldn't write in class. He wouldn't even speak well. He was just like, when you're asking him to read, he'll be blabbing, and the teacher will be like, you are not doing anything. You are going to repeat this class. You are going to do this. You are not going to move to the next class. And I'm like, And my husband will be like, where did you even see this child? I don't know where you even got this child from. And we're always worried about him starting and writing. You know, it's at that stage, parents are worried about, oh, you are supposed to have reached this milestone and you are not there. Okay. I've seen that she doesn't have learning challenges. Okay, she speaks well. Fantastic. So this, my child wasn't even speaking well. He didn't have a clear speech. He didn't have a speech impediment. It was just that he had not reached that stage of wanting to do things. So there is readiness in children, stage of readiness. He had not reached that stage, but I was always like pushing him. No, you have to know how to do this at this stage, at this. And the proprietor at that time was telling me that if you give him a little more time, he will get there. Just note what he likes to do at that time and use that opportunity of what he likes to do to get him to learn what you want him to learn. So he likes to play ball or what. So he will be playing football with his older brother. And it is during that playing of football that we begin to learn maybe to learn numbers. So you kick the ball to him and he said, okay, that is 1. And you have kicked it the second time, that is 2. You know, he was not learning that number on the pages of an exercise book, for instance. So we had to look at avenues that he liked, things he liked to do to make him learn. So at the point when he got to that issue of, oh, if you don't pass, you know, there's this thing about Nigeria. In Nigeria, we do a lot of certification. A child must have a particular mark to move to the next class. But at that age of 3, 4, they don't need any pass mark. They only need milestones that they have passed. Okay, you have been able to do this particular thing at this stage. That's all they need. But because we like to say he has scored 100% in this, 100% in that, that's what makes the child to move to the next. I realized that my child was learning in other ways if he's not on an exercise book, if he didn't have to write. If I told him to hold a pen, he will hold it in a way that I'll be angry. He'll say, hold it well. And he will hold it in a way that I'll be annoyed. But he was learning those numbers without holding a pencil. So I need you to look at that child and see the times that she really, really wants to stop. See what makes open up, other than when you want to sit with her in a strict manner of sitting down to a table and holding a pencil and learning environment. There are other ways that the age group that she is learning new are the ways that we have you use at look at other ways where you are to learn. That child that I told you was not writing, was not speaking well, is a product of Harvard today and works with a very successful company now, is made today. So by the time he passed that stage of, I do not want to, he just like moved like a speed of light. So there are stages that children pass through that you have to watch and see their styles of learning other than the ones that you knew about in the past. I hope I've answered your question.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much. Mrs. Fatima raised up her hands for a question. Please make the question very brief. And I also appeal to Mrs. Buhari to make the response very brief because of our time. All right, go ahead, Fatima. Fatima Bakari, you said you had a question. Okay, I think at this juncture, would just like that you type your question in the chat box. Oh, you can't unmute. So please type it in the chat box and Mrs. Buhari will see to it so that we still ensure that we are keeping to time. Thank you very much, ma'am. You have given us loads and loads and loads of words of wisdom. We will keep to it. We'll try to work at it. I'll really try that aspect of not beating a child. I will try it. And you can be assured that I'll share with you how I am able to fare in that. I'll try it. Okay, so that wraps up the keynote session. Please, a round of applause for our lecturer, our keynote speaker, Mrs. Buhari. A round of applause. Use your emoticon. Feel free to use it. And if you want to unmute, feel free to clap. Thank you. At this point, let's move on to the next session. The next session, which is a panel session. But I am not the one to handle this panel session. I'll be calling on my sister, someone who works in the media. She's a content creator, a TV presenter, a compere, and also a lover of children. And she is a mother. Mother, not murder. She's a mother. Please join me to welcome the panel moderator, Mrs. Fumi Akinshola. Over to you, Fumi.
Hello, thank you very much. I really enjoyed that introduction. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Good afternoon.
Okay, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking out time from your Saturday. So I know everybody likes to have their Saturdays to themselves, to rest and just go to an O1 bear and just enjoy life basically. So for you to take out time to join us this Saturday, we're really very grateful for that. Okay, so without taking much of your time, our session today is talking about spirituality and religion, and raising children in that in that space. For me, I feel like this is a very fundamental conversation to have because there's so much information out there. Even we as parents, some parents don't even understand even the basis of their faith. And then, of course, you know how Nigeria is. There's so many churches, so many mosques, so many people professing all kinds of faith, and it's not we can't see it in the country where such a lawless people are driving against traffic, things are happening, all sorts, especially even with the current situation with Dowen College happening currently. So, it's just very disturbing. So I am not handling the what's called, I'm not the one speaking on the panel today. So we have two, and I like that we have a balance. We have someone from Islam and someone from Christianity who will be handling this panel. I know that both of them are on the panel. So can you please just go to the slide that has their profile so that I could do a proper introduction for both of them. Thank you. Okay, so our first panelist is Imam Najib Jimo. He's a UK-trained chartered housing practitioner with 2 decades of experience in the UK housing sector. His return to Nigeria in 2010 saw him take up an appointment in the oil and gas sector, where he rose to the position of Chief Operating Officer, from where he retired in 2020. He's an active Islamic preacher and Chief Imam of the Lighthouse Muslim community in Lekki. Good afternoon, Imam Jimo. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Okay, and also on the panel is a venerable Dr. Adeyemi Agbelusi. He's a principal partner, Baron Associates Nigeria, and helps people and organizations to successfully navigate conflict through negotiation, mediation, arbitration, conflict coaching, and avoidance training. He is a certified negotiator, mediation advocate, and arbitrator. He's a fellow of the Society of Advanced Legal Studies. Now, Venerable Dr. Belusi is the director of the St. Francis Theological Seminary and a high priest of the Anglican Church. Good afternoon, sir. You're welcome.
Good afternoon, Fumi.
So can you both hear me?
I can hear you clearly.
Okay, so let's get straight to the question. So my first question today is to ask both of you, so you can both answer it. What's the difference between spirituality and religion? What's the difference between? So I'll let the Imam go first. Imam Najib, you have the floor. Please tell us what's the difference between spirituality and religion.
Okay, thank you very much, and it's my pleasure to be here. Spirituality will be that which has to do with people's thoughts, people's beliefs, people's inner self, as opposed to their bodies or physical surroundings, right? It would be that which has to do with the innate of the person. For example, somebody who engages in meditation will be said to be being in a state of spirit at that time, at that point in time. Someone who engages in yoga and he believes that by maintaining this posture for this period of time, then there is an inner gain to be made. It will be said to be in a state of spirit. Whereas religion is a set of beliefs and practices, often shared by a group of people and often displayed to the public to know. Whereas that which is spiritual may be innate and is not in the public, but religion is often in the public. It can be difficult to separate between the two, but generally speaking, I think you can be spiritual without necessarily being religious. Thank you.
Right, for me, can I go now?
Can I just confirm that you heard all I said? Did anyone hear me?
Yes, we did. We heard you.
Yes, we heard you, sir. Yes, we did. Thank you. So
Thank
yes,
you.
Okay.
Doctor, you can go
So can I
ahead
go now
now.
for me?
Yes, please,
Okay,
you
thank you
can.
very
Thank
much.
you.
Okay, well, like the Imam has said, spirituality and religion are really two peas in a pod. I hear many people today say, "Oh, I am spiritual, but I'm not religious." I think that's simply being dogmatic, because when we talk of spirituality, it usually starts with a belief in a divine power, but it's also a general belief and connection between oneself and other living beings in the earth. So you find that spirituality will, like you said, be a concept of your inner consciousness, identifying with yourself, identifying yourself with relation to other people, understanding your environment, understanding your place in relation to a higher or divine power, and most importantly, understanding how to make sense of how to live a meaningful life. So all of these inner belief, reflections, feelings, thoughts, belief and behavior that you give to yourself, with the understanding that all life is not physical. That is not only what we see with our physical experience or our senses that exist. So it's basically a means of interpreting the world. And for religion, basically it deals with dogma, it deals with traditions, it deals with ritual. And this is just a practice of spirituality. It's also a practice of belief. It's also a practice of your particular faith tradition. So it's possible to be religious and not understand the spiritual essence of the religion, but it's also difficult to be a spiritual person and not seek religion in some form, like the Imam said, to show outwardly that I have the inner congruence within me, and I have my belief and my connection with the Creator. So you definitely seek for spiritual experience to share this and to show it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. So I wanted to ask both of you as well that why is it important for parents to be spiritual? Because some parents tell you that, look, I'm agnostic or I'm atheist. For example, I don't believe that it is a supreme being, or some people say, okay, I don't believe in either Islam or Christianity. I just want to just want to live my life and raise my children in the same way. So why is it essential for parents to be spiritual?
Okay, if I can quickly jump into that. Simply speaking, spirituality is a path to empower ourselves to be a better person. It's a way of learning self-control, self-development, self-actualization, self-awareness. And it consists of several subdivisions like your intelligence quotient, your emotional quotient, and your spiritual intelligence. So all of these are things that really is expressed in the family. Remember, the family is the battleground of life. I listened to the previous speaker, and I was amazed at the way she was able to articulate so many things that we talk about. The home is really a battle. In fact, our scripture says that a man's enemies are people of his own household. I mean, if you can win the battle in your family and winning the battle in society, it's going to be much, much easier. So spirituality is also a coping mechanism, and we find that today it's important for parents to be able to have some level of understanding of themselves, some inner grounding, some self-awareness, because we're coping with a lot of change. It's a brave new world. especially with the post-COVID-19, we find that the world is changing rapidly and it's about to even change in leaps and quantums. And so mental health is challenging. The children themselves are challenged. You have children as little as age 8, 7 now, having high blood pressure and are being stressed. And all of this breeds depression, breeds anxiety, breeds physical illness. And there's many financial issues facing families, and also even confusion about sexuality. Human sexuality, transgender, homosexuality, bisexuality, all of these issues are cropping up at a high volume, perhaps because of the openness to information which we didn't have before. It's important for a parent to be grounded, understand who you are, understand what your values are, understand your relationship to the society and relationship with your creator. Once you have this, I think it's now easy to impart it to the children. And we see a failure and a breakdown of society today because many parents don't even understand who they are. They don't even know. I mean, one of the most questions in Nigeria is, do you know who I am? People don't even know who they are. And they're just basically existing. They're not living. Because life is a choice. Living is a choice. And so many people are not even alive. And so when you have somebody who is really dead, it's difficult to have children being raised around such a person who have the mental congruence and spiritual intelligence to cope with life. And this really is why I think individuals first and parents should be spiritual, should be religious, so that they can give this gift to their children. Imam?
Thank you very much. Thank you. So, Imam Najib, I wanted to ask you, how does spirituality help with family stability? How does it help with raising children? Imam, did you hear me, sir?
Yes, sorry, I was muted. Yes, thank you very much. Number one, I endorse all the comments made by our pastor. I think they are very much the case from an Islamic viewpoint as well. Now, to the question, see, parents are the mirrors through which the children see the world. And the best of those mirrors is that which is an example to the child. What you want the child to be, you live it. Take, for instance, a parent saying to a child, Muslims fast in the 9th month of the Muslim calendar, the Ramadan, which everybody knows, right? Imagine a parent who does not fast, and then he or she says to a child, I want you to fast in the month of Ramadan, but he doesn't see you fasting, right? Whereas a parent who fasts during that month probably does not even need to say to the child that you have to fast during this month, because the child grows up to know that this is what we do during this period, right? Secondly, in Islam, children, once we are given, they become unto us what we call amana. Amana means trust. And then you become a trustee for that child on behalf of the creator of that child. And then you are going to ask about your trusteeship of that child. Some parents, by our religion, are going to find the mercy of God on the last day as a result of how they raised their children. Not necessarily because of what they did. And others are going to find the chastisement of their Lord, again, because of the way they would have raised their parents. So children are a trust to us once we are given, and we are accountable first and foremost to ourselves, to the community, and then to the Creator as to how that trust is discharged. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
I'd also like to add something to that.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, the practice of religion or spirituality in family contributes to family stability, because a spiritual family prioritizes family relationships and draws everybody to participate in the family life. So one of the most important bonds in life is family bonds. They say blood is thicker than water. So it's in the family we learn things like kindness, things like patience, communication, stress management, through the prayers, the rituals that we do as a family. So we find that research by consultant pediatrics and child psychologists tell us that children and teenagers who are raised with spiritual practices are more likely to have better mental health and a healthier lifestyle. They have greater life satisfaction. They process emotions better, and they are more forgiving. They have more empathy than people who have never prayed or meditated. So they are more likely to participate also in charity and in more not-for-profit work. And this is very important as individuals, because when you live like this, you do affect not only your family but the community. So just like they say, it takes a village to raise a child. We find that when the family raises a child properly and gives a good example, like Imam said, as good mirrors, then the children grow up being able to find their space in that society. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I wanted to find out from both of you, though, and I think some of the people here too will agree with me, especially in Nigeria. We have at every bus stop we have a church. At every bus stop we probably have like a mosque, but we're just such lawless people. And even though you talked about the fact that spirituality is very essential for raising a family, but you find out that families or people, abroad, for example. So I even have friends abroad that are, so to speak, like atheists or don't believe in God, but they have like values. They'll tell you can't treat someone a certain way. They can't treat. Well, here we are in this country with so many religions, so many churches, and all of that, but we are so lawless. What is responsible for that? I'd like the Imam to start first, and then the doctor can.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think what you have described is a state of being religious without being godly. And that is what we find all over the place in Nigeria, amongst the Muslims, amongst the Christians. In my talks, I do make one comment. It's quite intriguing. I would say that a child raised in the UK who's never been to church or the mosque is less likely to think about committing fraud. I'm talking about monetary fraud, than a child raised in Nigeria in a house where religion holds sway. You know why? Because our environment makes us. In Nigeria, everybody thinks about getting rich, making money very quickly. Even the one who goes to church, it thinks about money. Half the people probably go to church because of they are in search of one miracle or another, which will bring wealth their way, not because they are in search of God, right? So it will be a contradiction. It will be contradiction in terms that one is religious but is not godly. Then he has missed the essence of being religious. And this is what we find in our society. Pastor has a relationship with the UK, as I do. We find many people, you call a contractor, an artisan, to your house in the UK, right? The chances of him doing what he would say he would do is far higher than the chances of having an artisan, a very religious artisan, Muslim, Christian in Nigeria, come to your house to try to fix something. and he would even swear in the name of God, even without there being any need for him to swear. Meanwhile, he's only telling lies in addition to the fact that he does not even know what he's doing. But then you call an artisan who's never been to church in his life in the UK to your house. He tells you this is £10. You know it is £10. And then you have a sense of, I am not being cheated. In Nigeria, the starting point of everybody is going to cheat me. So I've got to find a way of stopping him from cheating me. So we are a group of very religious people, but lacking in godliness.
Okay, before the doctor adds to it, maybe I should just ask the doctor. So, what is the solution? Because we definitely can't carry on like this. And which I think because of this thing that, like you've just described, of how many people are going to feel like, look, you know what? If you're such a religious person, you're going to church. Before I say anything, I've already told me that you're a Christian or a pastor, but then I find out along the way that your character is bad. What should now be the solution? So, I think the pastor should speak more to that. So, what is the solution? What do we need to do to have a more? What do we need to do, sir? Please.
Yeah. So, for me, with all due respect, I think we need to really simplify things and not make it too complicated. You can go on a flight from Lagos to Abuja to Lagos every day from now till the next 20 years. It doesn't make you a pilot. You can go to the hospital every single day to take an injection, to check the other patients, and to clean up for the next 30 years. It doesn't make you a medical doctor. I want you to understand that going to church or going to mosque or going to the shrine does not make you anything other than just a worshipper. I said my definition, religion is about dogma, tradition, and symbols. So if you give me today a mandate to act as an imam, I can become Alhaji Ade, and I can tell you about the pillars of Islam. I can do anything. I can do the 5 daily prayers. I can talk about the hadith. I can talk about Islamic jurisprudence. It doesn't make me a Muslim. So religion is a mask. It's a cloak. It's a garment. It must cover something. It must cover an inner essence, which is what you call spirituality. So now, solution. What is spirituality? We go back again to our core topic of parenting. It takes the family and the parents who know who they are, who are collected and who understand their space in relation to themselves, to their neighbor, and to God. You know, the biggest commandment in our religion says, and the same thing from the Jewish religion, says, the Lord our God, the Lord is one, and you shall love him with all your heart, soul, and mind, and all your strength, and then you shall love your neighbor as yourself. So in essence, what God wants from us is that we love him totally, uniquely, singularly, and love our neighbor as ourselves. So the family must teach, again I say, kindness, patience, empathy. When we eat at the table together as a family, my mother, if there's only one piece of meat, we'll cut it into 4 and say, look, I couldn't go to market today, so this is the only piece of meat, we're going to share it. Or will anybody excuse me today and get it to tomorrow? We negotiate and we learn to deal with that. Sometimes we have visitors who come in just at dinner time. My mother says to us, can you guys eat something else, maybe biscuit and tea and go to bed? Let me serve this food to neighbors. So we learn about giving, about sacrificial giving. So we have a dog. I have to bath the dog, I have to clean the dog, I have to wash the dog. And when the dog eventually dies, we'll give the dog a burial, we cry. We learn empathy. We learn humanity. So kindness, humanity, civility, respecting. I have 4 sisters. Speaking to them with respect, not raising your voice, controlling your temper. All of these are learned in the family. And when this fails, the church or the mosque cannot do anything. You go to church, in my tradition, possibly about 2 hours or 1 hour a week. You go to the mosque, maybe 1 hour on Friday. That's if you even bother to go to a mosque. And then I ask myself, for the rest of the 7 days of the week, where do you learn? Are you a submarine? You are in the water all week, and then you just come out once a week to take some sunlight, and then you want to become a good person. No, you must be in a state where you are learning at home the concepts of kindness, of respect, of self-control, of self-discipline, of the fear of God, of honesty, of integrity. And then in school, it's a pity. We talk of moral instruction. Moral instruction, we use religion in Nigeria, religious bigotry, to take out of the curriculum. Now, moral instruction is religion neutral. It talks of honesty, it talks of humility, it talks of service, it talks of kindness, and all of these have nothing to do with any religion. It has to do with being a human being. And so we've raised a generation of children who take alcohol, who smoke, who join cultism, who molest each other sexually, who are in prostitution, all kinds of things, and they have basically what? No conscience. So, and these children are the ones who populate the religions. So you now have pastors who steal money, who rape their church members, who are basically in the media for all sort of notoriety, because the home failed, the parents failed. The essential values of discipline, resilience, niceness, of human kindness, you know, has not been taught into this person as a child. So we need to go back to those roots. Parents inculcating civility, morality, values into the children, not for religious reasons. No, for human reasons. I remember once I went on to an orphanage to to do a birthday celebration. You know, somebody was doing a birthday, went to give some gifts to the orphans. And when we got there was this white lady from Sweden who is an atheist. But she comes to the orphanage once in 2 weeks to clean, take care of the children who are mentally retarded, and then to buy stuff for them. And she was a very strong supporter of the orphanage. And she doesn't believe in any God. So it doesn't take religion to be human, to be kind. I mean, we've come to a state whereby we are so heartless that should you reverse your car in Lagos, for instance, and fall into a ditch, people will laugh and say, "Ha, Omotini." Nobody is saying, "Oh, are you sorry? What's going on here? You know, have you enjoyed yourself?" Which is different. I mean, or a bike rider. I mean, I saw somebody a picture yesterday of a man somewhere in the southwest who we alleged had turned two young boys into yam, and they put a rope on his neck and they burnt him alive. Now it shows that something is missing. When society spread fake news, when there's so much lies on social media, when Instagram is full of people who are forming and deceiving themselves, and then we look at our young women who say that they are small girls with big gods and they're living in Banana Island with big cars, and we don't ostracize them. They're committing multiple abortions. I follow different blogs, Joromorphin, Zikoko, all sort of things, and see the amount of sexuality, drugs in the clubbing and night clubbing under life of our city. We are about to be hit by a storm because our children are growing up in this environment. Things that we thought were moral decadence, I mean, bestiality, sleeping with dogs and everything, we thought was in the UK, is here and is in big measure. And it's still a failure, not of religion, but a failure of the family. Because I'm sorry, my kids are in church for just an hour or two a week. I don't think I will outsource their spiritual development to any imam or any pastor. I was given to them to raise them. And that's why the Bible tells us in our own scripture, in our tradition, that children are God's heritage, and we are to take care of them and raise them in His fear and admonition. So if the parents don't know God, then I think I dare submit that they shouldn't have children. Because otherwise they're going to raise monsters. And so we're finding it today that people take their parents to the occult, they cut off their head to make money medicine. And it's because the family has failed. So I don't think it's religion. I think it's the family. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You don't think it is religion, you think it's the family. Interesting, very interesting. So because we're going to round up the session in about 5 minutes, I want to tell any of the listeners, in case you have any questions, please drop it in the chat box. And if you want to ask questions, you'll probably just have to wait till the end of the session. But if you drop your question, I can probably help you ask it. Okay, so my last question to both of you is, what tips do you have for or parents on how they can teach, or I don't know, is it teaching their children spirituality or what? Or what tips do you have for parents concerning that? Concerning raising their children to be godly and not just religious. What tips do you have for parents? So I'll start with the imam and then the pastor can answer.
Okay, thank you. No, the Quran defines success, real success, right? And then it starts with the physical worship, then is followed with the act of giving, and is followed with the act of saying that which amounts to foul languages, then is followed by guarding your chastity, be it man or woman, and only going in relationship with that is lawful to you. And then the next is keeping your trust that are given to you, right? And then at the end of all this, the Quran says that those who do this are those who are going to be the inheritors of paradise, right? Going back to what I said earlier, the best teaching that can be given to a child is that which the parents do, right? You live as you want your children to live, right? You cannot be in a position in which you would say to a child, don't do this. And then he or she is able to say to you, but daddy, you do it. Then the moral right to do that, you have already lost, right? In the Quran says that your wealth and your children, they can be a source of trial to you. Innama amwalikum wa awladukum fitna. That verily your wealth and your children, they can be a trial to you. Meaning that your wealth can be a source of salvation, and it can also be a source of you earning the anger of God. Your children, your family can be the source of salvation, and it can be the source of you earning the chastisement of God. And that is why also we find in the Quran say, oh, you believe, oh, you who have believed, oh, you believers, right? Save yourself and then your family from the fire whose fuel is human beings and stones, and then guarded by angels who do as they are told, who does not disbelieve their God. So the best teaching or tips that a parent can give to his children is to live as he or she would like to see the children live.
Thank you very much, Imam. I appreciate your contribution so much. I want to just take quickly 6 points, 6 actionable advice that parents can use to instill spirituality in their children. So the first one I would say is communication. You need to teach children to understand how the spiritual and the physical part of our lives are united. So when you teach a child that virtues such as kindness, compassion, generosity, patience, honesty, which are all internal things, keep you out of external trouble like arrest, rejection, harm, disrespect, and also even internal troubles like guilt, shame, frustrations. So you help them to develop self-esteem, discipline, and give them positive coping mechanisms. So communication is very important. Teach your children, spend time with them, understand, break down these values to them. Now, number 2 is explain. Explain with religious stories, which is where religion comes in. You can take religious stories, religious heroes to encourage and to inspire children to look at appropriate behaviors and methods for dealing with daily challenges. So we need to help children to understand the concepts of spiritual values. And so when you say God loves you and you should love your neighbor, you need to break it down and show them that in practical terms. Number 3 is also incorporate in daily life. Teach your child practically how to be spiritually healthy. So a child is depressed or feeling down, you tell the child to tell you things that they are grateful for. or things that inspire them. And this kind of practice helps the child to become more resilient and more mentally and adequately aware of how to deal with downturns in life. Also, acknowledge your children's spiritual questions, which is why you need to also be learned in your religion or your faith tradition. What happens after we die? Why do bad things happen to good people? Do animals have a soul? I remember my daughter asked me when she was quite young. She said, "Daddy, you are the oldest in our house. Are you going to be the first to die?" And I said to her, "Well, people don't die by age. They die according to how God wants them to die." And she started asking me more questions about that. Also my last son asked me one day, I think we were in a shop, and he saw me. He said, "How come anytime you come to this shop, you never go to where they sell alcohol? Don't you like alcohol?" I had to answer those questions. Another child asked me, "How come you do so much shopping for us? Are you not a pastor? Where do you get money from?" And I had to explain to them that I do other jobs apart from being a pastor, and that's what pays the bills, not pastoring. I don't get any kobo as a pastor. I do it for free. So I had to acknowledge their questions and answer them, because if I didn't do so, I would be creating their imagination, and then they may think or do the wrong thing. Number 5 is also avoid overindulging your child. Don't pamper your children. Don't give them unnecessary material excesses. My children, until they were 18, didn't have a phone. They didn't watch television throughout the week, only on the weekends. Set reasonable rules and assign responsibilities to them. Don't basically make them feel a sense of entitlement, and don't let materialism be a reward for everything they do well. So your child does something well in school, you can ask him, you can put a picture of him on the wall of the house as the child of the month or whatever, not necessarily give money. Otherwise they tend to equate material gifts as solutions as returns for being good. And then most importantly, like Imam has said, I will corroborate and I will stand by him. I do concur. Lead by example. Align your parenting with spiritual values and demonstrate these values by your actions. I remember a
Thank you,
day.
sir.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have to interrupt you because we're out of time, and then also people have questions they want to ask. But I'm going to hand over to the coordinator so that he can ask the questions. And then. But have you seen the questions in the chat room already? Have you seen the questions? There's a question here. Just let me go through it. So somebody said to the pastor, please, how does being religious amount to being financially sufficient? How does being religious amount to being financially sufficient? Doctor, did you see that question? You can answer it. Thank you.
I haven't seen the question, but I don't think that being religious makes you financially sufficient. I think God provides for your needs and your wants as you look up to Him, and sometimes God gives you just exactly what you need. So you may not have naira and kobo, but you may have friends. God gives you also the gift of contentment. You don't have money in your account. Like many Nigerians deceive themselves a lot. The central bank tells us statistically that 97%, that is 9 out of 10 Nigerians, in fact 10 out of 10, because 9.7 over 10 is almost 10 out of 10, have less than 500,000 in their accounts. So many Nigerians are going about forming shoulder, wearing Gucci and Prada. They don't have any money. So God expects us to be content. And if a parent is not content and is demonstrating and spending what doesn't have, living on borrowing, and then definitely it's not giving the children a good education. So I think that being religious does not mean being rich. No. God gives riches the way He likes. He shows mercy how He wants to show mercy. But God blesses hard work. And hard work can give you sometimes a good name. So you may not have wealth, but I mean you can have. I've seen a church sexton, which is like a church cleaner. He died about 15 years ago, and there were more than 5,000 people. I counted 21 coaster buses at this man's burial. A church cleaner. He was a cleaner for 3 years. Directors came for that burial. So that man didn't have any wealth. He didn't have a wife. He didn't have any children. But I think he was wealthy. He died well. He was well buried. I'm not sure many governors will have 21 consequences when they die. Especially Nigerian governors. So we need to remove wealth and religion. The fact that you serve God doesn't mean God will give you money. I'm sorry. I beg to differ. God will take care of your needs. God will watch over you. He will give you good health. He will give you sound mind. He will keep you safe. And most importantly, He will give you contentment. That's what my religion teaches me.
Wow, wow, wow. At this point, I need to step in. Thank you very much, sir. Venerable Dr. Adeyemi Agbelusi and Imam Najimuddin Jima. Thank you very much. Never compromise your family values for worldly things. Contentment is a virtue. So many nuggets you threw out there. Imam Najimuddin says that people are religious, but they are not godly. That's the situation we are in Nigeria. You go to the church, you go to the mosque, but still you are that person that beats the traffic light, you're that person that throws rubbish on your way out, you're that person that insults someone in traffic. How do we link all of this to parenting? Venerable Agbelusi mentioned that his daughter was asking him, "Sir, you are the eldest in the family. Are you the first to die?" If my son asked me that, I will first swallow spit before I respond. You know, but you see, he explained to her that death is not by age, it's by how God decides. You know, the decision of God is what happens and all of that. We need to communicate, engage with our kids so that we can explain things to them. Guess what? If they ask us and we do not explain, we don't engage, they will go outside to ask the wrong people. When you were talking about social media, I wanted to say that what we have on social media are influencers with Z. That is a disease, not influencers with Z. No, they are influencers. There's so much disease out there, but God will continue to help us and we'll continue to do our own part. Yes, communication, explain, acknowledge your kids' question. Don't indulge them. Lead by example. Let me quickly share something before we go to the final session. Very recently, my kids, most times, you know, they want to go out, we go into the vehicle and they go out. And for a long time, they have not really had to walk. So there was this day very recently, the car broke down and the mom, because of traffic, had to go and pick their senior in the school, and they now had to get down and walk because the traffic was a standstill. When they got home, they said, "Daddy, something happened today." I said, "What happened?" They said, "We walked. Mommy made us walk in the sun." I said, "Yes, you have to taste two sides of life. Sometimes you go into the car, AC, but other times you need to feel what the man on the street feels. You walk in the sun. Don't indulge your kids." Thank you so much. Finally, the final session for today. Please continue to engage our speakers, Imam Najimuddin Jima and Venerable Adeyemi Agbelusi, in the chat box. If you have questions, please throw your questions to them and they can take it. Our final session for today is what we call the bull session. Bull, you know, when you see a bull, it's like, it's real, no sugar coating. Let's say the way it is. And that reminds me about something I read recently in a book called Good to Great by Jim Collins, where he said, for you to move from good to great, at some point you need to confront your brutal facts, reality check. What exactly is going on? Tell yourself the truth. However, have faith that whatever happens, no matter the challenges, you will come out good. Tops, you will work at it. Today, we have three people, three wonderful persons to speak with us in the bull session. First, I'll read their profiles, then I'll have them say hello, then we go into it, each of them 10 minutes. The first person I have here is TJ Chunu. TJ Chunu. This person is Tejiri Jerry Chunu. It's fondly called Unusual TJ. Is a brand and idea communication strategist by day, and a teen mentor and parenting coach by design, with over 23 years. The right person for the right job. He's an NLP practitioner, Family System Engineering Associate Practitioner, and US Certified Family Wellness Coach. TJ founded Teen on Fire Leadership Initiative, an NGO raising teens into leadership for public service. He is the CEO of .bob Creative Solutions, a brand solutions firm. He's also the co-founder of the GLAD Company, an organization focused on equipping parents, teachers, and mentors on teens and skills. Teens with skills and tools to connect and raise high-flying teens. He founded the Nursing Fathers Community, a social community designed to help young fathers get actively involved in parenting while providing support for their wives. TJ Chunu, can you just say hello? Only hello, don't say more than that. Just say hello. I would like to see your face. TJ. Is TJ there? Okay, while we wait for TJ to tell us to say hello to us, let me go on to the next speaker on this Boo session. Next person is a lady who is a graduate of business administration from the Lagos State University. Is a fellow, Chartered Institute of Loan and Risk Management of Nigeria. She's a member of the Chartered Institute of Purchasing and Supply Management of Nigeria. She is a member of the United States Institute of Peace. She also possesses a mindset and language makeover mastery certificate with certification in neurolinguistics and neurosemantics. Wow. Neurosemantics practices along CIPA metaphor, a metaphor mastery certificate. This lady is an editor and administrator with over 20 years experience. She's currently a director of finance and admin in Avenue Limited, a marketing, communications, printing, publishing firm, and a risk analyst and marketing research consulting partner at Total Research and Project Development Consultant Limited. Madam is an editor, a teen and youth mentor, a marriage counselor, and a family life coach. She is the convener of Developing Women to Survive Empowerment Initiative, formerly the Digital Women Support Group, a group of over 250 women duly registered and certified by the CAC, created with the purpose of taking care of emotional, psychological, and other needs of women of various classes and cadres. She is the chief chef, Beam's Kitchen, wow, an online kitchen for special healthy delicacies. She's a blogger whose handle is at the Unconventional Herds, a certified public speaker and human resources manager, a chairperson volunteer at KKC and the community, a charity organization that renders various forms of emotional, medical, and material help to people and communities in need. This person is a volunteer member of the Repulsible Charity Association and Heteros Foundation. She's a good listener, very passionate about women, teenagers, youth, and children. She's certified and qualified in a number of courses: the art of persuasive writing and public speaking from Harvard University, professional resilience, building skills to thrive at work, Deakin University, Australia, introduction to business management, King's College, London. I can go on and on and on and on, but I need to mention this. COVID-19 psychological first aid, public health, England. Introduction to psychology and psychology of personality, Monash University, Australia. COVID-19 helping young people manage low mood and depression, University of Reading, England. This person is certified in emotional intelligence and strategic human resources management. Who am I speaking about? In case you do not know, she's a woman married and with lovely kids. I'm talking about Mrs. Abimbola Comfort Onwuchekwa. I hope I got that correctly. Mrs. Abimbola Comfort Onwuchekwa. If you are there, can you just say hello? Just say hello. Mrs. Abimbola, are you there? Abimbola, are you there? Okay, TJ, are you there? I can't hear. All right, I'll go on to introduce the last person, and I hope by then all the other speakers will have come on board. Our last speaker at the Bull session is an insurance practitioner of over 2 decades. She's an associate of the Chartered Institute. Chartered Insurance Institute of Nigeria, and also a member of the Chartered Insurance Institute of London. She has studied insurance and worked with the most reputable insurance company in Nigeria, Law Union and Rock, now Tangerine Insurance, for 20 years, where she rose to the middle management level before deciding to go on voluntary retirement to pursue a passion of public speaking, life coaching, counseling, and mentoring. She has a diploma certificate in insurance from the Lagos State Polytechnic and BSc, including MSc in business administration and business management from the University of Lagos and Adokiti, respectively. This wonderful person just completed a postgraduate diploma. Who am I talking about? Mrs. Muslima Bajumo Apampa. Now, I've introduced our three speakers that will take the whole session. Please, if you are here, I would like to hear you and see you. Our audience would like to see you. Okay, yes, I can see Mrs. Abimbola. Please unmute and let our audience hear you. I can see Mrs. Bajumo Apampa as well. Okay, Mrs. Bajumo, we can see you live and direct. Now you can mute. Thank you. Bimbola, we can see you too. TJ is not here yet, so we'll just take it from the two of you. So I'm going to give you 10 minutes straight. Each of you will speak for 10 minutes. You know the topic. Parenting in this era. Wake up. Lay the fact bare. Let us hear it. Don't hide anything. Don't sugarcoat anything. Don't cover anything. Let us hear it as it is. Bimbola, would you like to go first? We can't hear you. I see you are speaking, but we can't hear you. Okay, let Mrs. Apampa go first while you sort out your audio. All right, yes. Right. Mrs. Apampa.
Hello, good
evening. Pronouncing it properly.
Apampa.
Mrs. Apampa. Pardon me. You have the floor, man. 10 minutes.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I think Mrs. Chekwas is trying to come on. Hello.
Mrs. Abimbola, we still can't hear you. So mute, let Mrs. Apampa speak. While you sort your audio. All right, okay, madam, go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Today, I'll be sharing my ideas on raising responsible children, between reasonable limits of discipline and punishment. Thank you to all the previous speakers. They've really done a good job. And of course, what I would say may not be too different from what they've talked about. It's general knowledge that parenting in this century is more challenging now more than ever before. Parenting is the task of raising children and providing for them with the necessary materials, emotional care to further, their physical, emotional, cognitive, and social development. So disciplining children is one of the most important yet difficult responsibilities of parenting. And unfortunately, there are no shortcuts. So as such, the stress of teaching children about limits of acceptable behavior, it takes time and it takes a great deal of energy. No thanks to the hurried pace of today's society, which can also be an obstacle to effective discipline. But as parents, the goal of effectively discipline is to foster acceptable and appropriate behavior in the child. We discipline children just to make sure that they put up the appropriate behavior and raise them up emotionally into emotionally mature adults. So a disciplined child is able to, for instance, he'll be able to postpone pleasure, delay gratification, and as well won't have that sense of entitlement that a lot of children have nowadays. They'll grow up to be considerate, of the need of others. They're assertive without being aggressive or hostile, and also can tolerate discomfort when necessary. Thus, effective discipline, it means discipline applied with mutual respect in a firm, fair, reasonable, and consistent way. The goal of all of this is to protect the child from danger, help the child learn about self-discipline, develop a healthy conscience and an internal sense of responsibility and control. And it also instills, all the necessary values. However, one of the major obstacles, to achieving this parenting goal is inconsistency on the part of the parents or guardian. Some of the speakers have also talked about this. As this will confuse the child. Regardless of the developmental stage where the child is, it is particularly hard for parents to be consistent role models, like telling our children, do as I say, not as I do. For example, I used to love watching TV. I watch TV, my children will watch with me. At some point, I found out that they love watching TV and they will be so engrossed in TV that at some, they'll be watching TV, they'll be so engrossed like this and you'll be calling them and they won't hear. At that point, I thought, well, I needed to change it. So I stopped watching TV. And now in our house, we hardly, switch on the TV except when their daddy comes home and wants to listen to channels news. So I can't be telling them, TV is not good for children. It won't allow you to, it won't let you read. It won't let you understand what you are taught in school. And I'll continue watching TV. So as much as possible, children will listen to do as I say, not as I do, because that won't instill the effective discipline in the children. Parental disagreements about children rearing techniques, as well as cultural differences between parents at times, may also often result in inconsistent disciplinary methods. So now I want to look at this thing. Is discipline actually, how is discipline and punishment related? When it comes to correcting a child's misbehavior, there is a big difference between punishment and discipline. While punishment focuses on making a child suffer for the rules, discipline is about teaching him how to make a better choice next time. So while punishment is still a penalty for a child's offense, and it's about making a child pay for their mistakes. Sometimes the desire to inflict punishment stems from a parent's feeling of frustration. At times our children do things to us and, we feel frustrated, we shout, we yell, and the next thing you want to do, to get back at that child is to hold your cane and, beat the child to a pulp. And all those stems from desperation. A parent may feel compelled to to yell, to spank, to remove every privilege a child has ever had in an effort to send a clear message that the behavior better change or else. Punishment, however, is about controlling a child rather than teaching the child how to control himself. When we punish children too much, we are telling them, okay, whenever you do this, I'll beat you. So rather than them be able to think, oh, I don't think what I've done is right, let me not do it again. They tend to believe punishment is about controlling them rather than teaching them to control themselves. And more often, punishment changes the way a child thinks about himself. A child who endures serious punishment will begin to think, oh, I'm bad. Instead of thinking he has made a bad choice and I need to change, instead of him believe, and it makes him believe he's a bad person. So authoritarian parents, I think Mrs. Buhari has mentioned that authoritarian parents are most likely to punish kids. Punishment like spanking is meant to inflict physical pain and suffering rather than correct the child. So punishment doesn't really teach children how to behave. A child who receives a spanking for eating his brother doesn't learn how to resolve conflict peacefully. Rather, he will be left feeling confused about why is it okay for you to eat him. He begins to think, why is it okay for the parents to eat him while we are telling him not to eat his brother? So punishment teaches the children that they are not able to be in control of themselves except to punish them. They learn their parents must manage their behavior because they are not able to do it on their own. So rather than the child sitting and reflecting, at times when the children misbehave, we put them in a small part of the house and we call it a naughty corner. We label it a naughty corner. So while the child is at the naughty corner, for instance, is being confined there because of one bad behavior or the other. The child, he or she is like, inclined to start thinking rather than feel sober that, oh, what I've done is wrong. You start to strategize. When I leave this place, I'll catch up with this. You begin to think and strategize on how to get revenge on the person who has put him there in the first place. So discipline teaches, but discipline is quite different from punishment. Discipline on its own, it teaches children, it teaches them new skills, such as how to manage their behavior, solve problems, and deal with uncomfortable emotions. Disciplines helps kids from making mistakes and teaches them socially appropriate ways to deal with emotions like anger, disappointment. The goal, however, when we discipline children is to give them a clear negative consequences that will help them to make a better decision in the future. Discipline takes an authoritative approach. Healthy discipline involves giving children clear and concise rules, and consistent negative consequences if they break the rules. Consequences may also be time sensitive. It must also be done within a time frame. Once they go against the rule, within that time, the consequences must be meted out to them. So while punishment may involve the parents removing all electronics, for instance, indefinitely, discipline, on the other hand, will involve just taking away the TV for, like, let's say 24 hours. When if, for instance, the child refuses to turn off the TV, or watch beyond their good time. So we're talking about discipline and punishment. So what's the best way to discipline a child? The best punishment does not really bring out the child.
Sorry, ma'am. I hate to interrupt you. But I need to at this time. You've said a lot. Would want you to hold your thoughts at that point. Let's quickly take a listen to Mrs. Abimbola. Abimbola Chekwas, can you speak now? Is your audio
fine? Can you hear me? It should be fine now. Oh,
yes,
great.
We can hear you now. Great.
I'm glad.
So please, you have the next 8 minutes to tell us your opinion. 8 minutes. Thank you.
What happens to my 2 minutes?
Yes, so because of time, we are trying to manage it. I will borrow that 2 minutes.
Actually, I'm on transit. I had to drop by a shop to do what I'm doing right now. That's why I have the bit of issue. I have to get down at a shop to be able to do this. Thank you so very much. I'm going to really speed it up to talk about how to raise independent and gritty children. It's a huge one because most times we tend to mix them up. My child is independent, my child is gritty, my child is this, but we need to know the difference. There are two distinct words. So we're going to take a look at the two words first before we now relate them to parenting. Let's look at the word independence first. When you talk of independence, you're saying, well, somebody who is not dependent, literally, not having to rely on anybody to get things done. My child can do things on their own, they especially personal things. It also means being able to survive alone, do chores alone. Then this is being independent in children. Now, the sustainability of the independence is what grit is all about. Your child can be independent and may not be gritty. How long can they sustain that independence? When they face challenges, okay, I can handle this on my own. How soon do they get tired? How long can they continue? And that is where grit comes in. So most times you may have a child that is independent, and you may have a child who is independent and not gritty, and you may have a child who is independent and gritty. And I call that a rounded child. So we're going to take them one after the other. So first and foremost, let us talk about how to raise independent children. How do we go about this? To the glory of God, God is the major factor in my life and the lives of my children. He's been able to help me to raise 3 adult children. One will be 24, 22, and 19. So I can say I'm going to be talking practically about how God helped me to raise these children. My mom raised her 8 children in a very crude way, but looking back, I can see that my mom was a crudely educated human being because she didn't go to the regular school, but honestly, she was able to impact a lot in her children. And looking back and looking at now, I can say a whole lot and relate a whole lot with being independent and being gritty. So how then, I'm going to be very fast because I have 8 minutes. So how do we raise independent children? How do we go about it? Please give them chores. I recall after my first child, I think about a year and 4-6 months after the second one came. And when I changed the Pampers, I had my little daughter here with me and my baby. I will wrap the Pampers while I'm changing or dressing them up, and I'll give to her. Please go and put this in the bin. And she would run. Sometimes she's in a hurry. She want to see what I was doing with the baby. And throw it on the floor. I will go back in the bin. So she was always looking forward to helping me to do things. So I now created some small brooms to give to her to sweep the floor. Whichever way I always give her thumbs up. That was growing up from when she was about 1 year plus. Even my room, I will put things on the bed and begin to wrap. And I will say, okay, let us see who folds this faster of the two of us. And this was how this child grew up. And the sisters also followed the same way. Now also reward them when they do things, okay? When they were growing up, I don't allow them to see house chores as responsibilities, as something they must do. So let me say here that I'm in a shop. I had to come and stay here, so you may be hearing some background noises, please. So please just bear with me. I had to borrow this space to work, so please bear with me. So let them reward them when they do good things, when they do great things. Not all the time, though. Not all the time. There are some tasks you give these children, and I will feel like, oh wow, you mean you did all of this? You deserve something. Like the Reverend said earlier, it could be the child of the year. As I speak with you, my second child is 22, and she's going to get the best child of the year 2021. The plaque is already waiting for Boxing Day. Yes, that goes to her. And every Boxing Day, we have rewards for each of these. We name them. They may not be big, but the fact that you're recognizing somebody's, so you reward them when they do things. It allows them to look forward to doing those things, and then they'll be able to do these things on their own. Then teach them how to save. Growing up, once they give them money, I had my old bags that I gave to 3 of them. So whatever anybody gives them, they put inside. Let me say to you now that my first child has almost 5 or 6 bank accounts. I heard Kuda from her mouth. She has GT, she has Biggie she has all of those. And same thing with other children. So every penny, every of my 3 children, they have that culture of saving. It makes them independent. So sometimes my kids would have, they 2 finished from University of Lagos, 1 is still there. Sometimes they pay their school fees ahead of time because they want to beat the balloting for hostels. So from their savings, they take, Daddy, I have paid my 27,000, I've paid my 23,000 to just put interest and pay me back. Those were from the saving culture. It gave them that level of independence to be able to do, please, they were able to do things on their own. So please let us invite that culture in them to be able to save and know that they can be accountable and responsible for the kind of things they say. So again, don't worry. Okay, don't do for your kids what they can do for themselves. It's so appalling sometimes when I see parents carrying school bags for their children. When they carry bags for their children, they wash their clothes. These are things they can do by themselves. It allows them to be very independent. Encourage effort and celebrate failure. My kids know that when they go for competitions, you don't have to win. The fact that you're there alone to be that person representing University of Lagos out of thousands of students, then you are my winner. Already you are a winner. So for that competition, you're just going for it for whatever. But for me, you are a winner, being the child to go, be all the way out. Then again, allow your kids to work out conflicts on their own. It gives them that sense of responsibility and independence. So let me wrap up that of raising independent children at this level. Let us look at how to make them gritty. The sustainability of being independent, after you must have tried to raise them to be independent, because they get tired. Even we parents, we get tired along the way, feeling that I've done this, I have tried this, and then I'm going to give up. So we also can be gritty parents. They follow our footsteps. So first and foremost, let your children find a passion. Do not impose on them what they do not want to do. Let them find the passion, identify the passion that these kids like, and encourage them to follow through. When they have a passion, they enjoy it, they like it, and they don't want to fail at doing it. They want to succeed at doing that thing which they like. Number 2, place kids in activities out of their comfort zones. I would love to talk more about this, but there's just no time. Most parents would rather have their kids play in this corner. No, don't go to the kitchen. My second child couldn't light a gas lighter for years. So she couldn't light a matchstick. So most times I take her there, do it like this. You see her blinking and closing her eyes. Nothing will happen. You have to do it. So I took them out of that comfort zone, take them for competitions that are more than them. Till now,
Mrs. Abimbala, let me take you out of your comfort zone. Let me take you out of your comfort zone. Thank you
Let me just wrap up. Let me just wrap up, please.
Okay, 10 seconds.
Let your kid get frustrated model a growth mindset, brainstorm together, teach them that failing is okay. They can fail, it's okay. They fail to make.
And you see, even if I didn't want to do it, technology came in to say that, yes, fantastic delivery. Thank you so much. At this point, so I don't see TJ. So what we are going to do is, it's almost 30 minutes. I mean, it's almost 6:30 and we promised to end this program by 6:30. So before I can take this program to exceed 6:30, I need your consent. Please, can we spend extra 10 minutes so that we can wrap up every loose end? Extra 10 minutes. Please, if you accept, can you just give me a thumbs up or unmute and say, go ahead. I need that consent before we go on. Thank you. I see 1 thumbs up. 2. At least I need 10 thumbs up before I can move. 3. I see 3 thumbs up. I need 7 more. 7 more before we. 4, 5, 6. I need 4 more. 7. I need 3 more. 8. I need 2 more. 2 more. 2 more. 9 and 1 more. 1 more. 1 more. 1 more. 1 more thumbs up. Where is that 1 coming from? 1 more thumbs up. Somebody give me that 1. Fantastic. Thank you, Abiodun. Finally. And now I have even more than 1. Thank you, everybody. So we are going to extend this program by another 10 minutes. Thank you. Now I see that TJ is here. We have introduced TJ. Oh, wow. TJ, you're looking dapper. I like that art. Now, TJ, because of time,
yeah,
as your reward for coming late, all what you have been learning here is to ensure that we reward people for everything they do. So as a reward for coming late, I'm going to give you 6 minutes. I take 2 minutes away from your time. So that remaining 4 minutes we use it to wrap up. So tell us, don't sugarcoat anything. In 6 minutes, what do you have to contribute? Over to you, TJ.
Okay, thank you and good evening, everyone. I want to sincerely celebrate the organizers of this. Let me put some light here. I'm sorry, I've been in a conference meeting and I just stepped out. I was here waiting actually initially, but the other panel was so exciting. I want to also celebrate every parent. Please, if you are a parent here, I want you to just tap yourself on the shoulder and say, I am doing well. Say, I am doing well. It's not easy in times like this where we see so many things happening and nobody really celebrates us in the hard times. We try as much as we can with what we know to do what we do. I have 4 children and I know what it takes to raise children to an extent. And the importance of being fathers drove me to starting something I call the Nursing Fathers community, where we help fathers become better parents. They become more involved parents, and also provide the necessary support for their wives to raise healthy families. A lot of wisdom has been shared here, and I want to say thank you because you guys just hit the nails on the head. I'm like, what else should I say? But I just want to say this: as fathers, it is very important. Parenting is not the role of mothers or women, or parenting is the responsibility of every individual who has the capacity to reproduce. So as far as you can reproduce, 1, you've reproduced, you have that responsibility. 2 is that you have the capacity as an adult, you still also have the responsibility. In other words, not only your children are the children you should parent, you are responsible for the children around you. Now, I was supposed to talk quickly about the unique father code in parenting. I realized between myself and my wife, one of the interesting things is that she goes so much of the African way. I am pro-discipline, but I am not pro-physical punishments. Thank you very much. I have 3 minutes. I am not pro-physical punishment because I'm always asking myself, what is the goal of discipline? If we cannot establish the goal of discipline, then the methods we use will end up being abuse or something else. So basically, what I do encourage parents to do is one, get involved in your child. Know your child. Learn of your child. Your child is another being just like you. Take time to understand and learn of your child. Your child has languages that may not be your languages, love languages and what have you that may not be your languages. Take time to understand that. Also, be very, what's the word? Be emotionally supportive of your child. One of the things I do to my children is that I am a part of their life, a part of the things they do, a part of the things. I also try to see life from their perspective as young as they are. And I find out that I start learning new things. So you want to ensure that you try be a part of your child's life. And the truth is, you now become a great influence in their development. And like many of you have said here, children, they come to the world empty. They are a blank slate. Whatever they become is what you and the world around us have imputed into them. So you need to consciously ensure that you are modeling repeatedly the things you want them to emulate. So there are times I have arguments with my wife, and anytime I argue with my wife, one of the things I do in front of the children is apologize to my wife, even though she may be wrong. I take responsibility. I'm teaching my children how to be responsible, how to honor other human beings, regardless of their positions, if they're right or wrong. Look at our environments today. And people who have grown up without values. It's because these things were abused when growing up. So you want to ensure. And then, I do not, there is a look. I think fathers have this. I think it's a superpower. Dear fathers, this is a superpower we have that mothers don't have. There's a look you will give your child. Your child will behave without shouting. It's a superpower of fathers. Okay. So you want to ensure, but that happens when you are emotionally connected with your child. Take time to also engage your child in conversations. Don't assume. Engage them in conversations. Okay, there's so much I would have loved to say here, but I know my time is up. So I just want to end here and really appreciate every one of you here who have spent time to listen to me and also be a part of this event. And I want to wish you a happy and successful and beautiful parenting journey as you move ahead this path of parenting. God bless you guys.
Thank you so much, TJ. Thank you for two things. One, keeping to time, and you have just proven that you do what you say you will do. And two, for giving us those powerful nuggets. Now we have 4 minutes to play with, and this is what I will do. I'll take one person, one question for each speaker. So if you have a question for each of these speakers, please type it. I'm not going to give you the opportunity to speak. Please, what's the word? Bear with me. Type it. I'm going to read it out and tell us the name of the person you want to respond to your question. And I'm going to use the next 1 minute to just do some wrap up. So first off, Mrs. Apampa told us that parenting is now more challenging than it has ever been. Major obstacles that we encounter as parents: inconsistency on the part of parents, inconsistency. Parental disagreement. This is the way you should handle it. This is the way you should handle it. Parental disagreement. Do as I do, not as I say. Show the kids by saying, do as I do. What we should encourage is that show them what you want them to do so they can learn easily. Punishment and discipline. Punishment and discipline. Punishment controls is telling the child that I want to control you. While discipline is saying that there are other ways you can do this better. Choose. Then Mrs. Bimbala mentioned that involve them in home activities, reward them sometimes when they do well. I like the idea of the Child of the Year award. I'm going to do something. I'm going to copy something from you, don't worry. Then he says, make your kids do things themselves. Yes, in fact, I usually try. I have 3 kids, and the last one, about age 6, sometimes he say, Daddy, help me do this. And sometimes I tell him, do it yourself. You can do it, so do it yourself. Okay, then you told us that, yes, now TJ told us, fathers, give necessary support to your wife. I love that, because you know why I love that particularly? I hear so many stories on a daily basis. I'm into a lot of things, by the way. So I hear so many stories every day where some men say, I am the man of this house. You must listen to what I say. It is what I say or nothing else. African mentality. Apologies to all the African men here, but you get what I'm trying to say, that you need to work collaboratively to build these children. TJ also mentioned that, profound. He said, your child is another being just like you. Your child is another being just like you. So don't assume, engage them, communicate with them. So now let me take your questions. I have 2 minutes to go. Questions. Give a parting shot on the menace of cultism in school. Okay, I like that. Thank you. Okay, no other question. So 2 questions I have here. One says, how do you differentiate between punishment and discipline? And one says, give parting shot on the menace of courtism in school. So I am going to allow Mrs. Apampa to respond to how do you differentiate between punishment and discipline. Then TJ will tell us parting shot about the menace of courtism in school. Mrs. Apampa, over to you. My wife is correcting me that it is Mrs. Over to you, ma. Mrs. So that I don't murder that name again. Mrs. Muslimat Bajuma. Let me be safe. Over to you, ma. How do you differentiate between punishment and discipline? Are you there? Mrs. Bajuma, are you there? Okay.
Yes,
Yes,
I'm trying to unmute my.
Yes, we can hear you now. Briefly, difference
Okay,
between parenting and discipline and punishment and discipline.
Discipline encourages children to do better, while punishment tells them you are telling them they are bad, that they can never be good. That's just the long and short of it. Discipline encourages them to do better, while punishment teaches them, oh no, you can't change, you are just bad. Wow. So we encourage, yes. Punishment tells, teaches children, like I said, how to behave. It leaves it in that they are bad, that they are bad and they can't change. While discipline, encourages them to do better things, to do well, and teaches them new skills, and it also teaches them how to manage their behavior. So anytime, any day, discipline overrules punishments.
Fantastic. I like the final caveat. Anytime, any day. Although Hafsa Alausa is saying it's still not clear. So I would advise that please engage Mrs. Bajuma via the chat and trash that out. But I have understood something. You said punishment tells the child that you can never be better. You can never be good. You are a dullard. You don't know anything. You are just there. But discipline tells them you have an option. You can be better than this. You only need to work on yourself. You only need to do A, B, C, D, and you can move better. Now I'll go to TJ. TJ, I'd like you to do two things. Number one, give us a word on what you think is the difference between punishment and discipline. Then give us a parting shot about the menace of cultism in school. Whose fault? Yes, I like that. Over to you, TJ.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think discipline is training people to hold certain values, while punishment is a method of rewarding the consequence for actions and bad actions. So punishment could also be a part of disciplining, but punishment is not a conclusive object that leads to disciplining. Okay, so punishment is not the way to discipline, but it is a way of disciplining. Okay, that's my own perspective.
I get that. Punishment is a way of discipline, but it doesn't lead to discipline.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay,
I get that.
About cultism in schools. Okay, it's quite unfortunate, and I mourn with the family who lost their son at Dowen College. Sadly, you want to ask ourselves this question, not necessarily whose fault. It's very obvious whose fault. Remember, I said children come into the world as blank slates. So who is feeding them? We say other children. Who fed other children? Okay. So you ask yourself this question: why do these children join cults? There are many answers. They join cults for the quest of power. So you ask yourself, do they feel powerless around you? If they feel powerless around you, if they do not feel they are growing their sense of worth and self-esteem, if they do not feel that with you they can conquer, like my son around me feels he's Spider-Man or Iron Man, he can change the world and save the world, then there's some real problem, that could also lead them to joining cults. There's the desire for revenge. Where does a child learn to revenge? My son takes my daughter's meat, or my daughter takes the son's meat. You see this one hits this one will hit this one. We are there watching them and say, hey, now children, they are learning how to revenge. So when there's something coming up in the bigger scene, what happens? That same habit will repeat itself. Okay, so the need to revenge also leads them. So those are the questions we should be asking. Why do they want to join cults? If we can answer that question, you find out that we are in the center. Why I say we are in the center is because it is your responsibility as a parent to help your child grow with power, grow with self-esteem, and have a sense of protection around you, feel comfortable in a way that they can share. Unfortunately, when reading that story, the boy couldn't share with his parents. I think he was afraid. The fear he took from school was hiding under another fear at home. So he was not able to express himself. Why shouldn't our children to be able to express themselves? My daughter is 13 years. If your daughter comes and tells you she's pregnant, what will your reaction be? Would you kill her in the pregnancy? You know, how do they respond when they have issues? Are you the first trusted person they can run to? You know, so the environment sometimes we have created in our home makes them look for security outside. Growing up, I almost joined the cult. Why? Because my parents really did not understand me. They were my fathers, they were ministers. So all the other children, they were good children. I was the bad one. Okay, they were not understanding what I was saying. So I felt safe talking with my friends, and my friends do not know the values of my home, are not necessarily in favor of the pursuit of my dreams. What they would do is lead me in their direction, and most times their direction ends in things like cultism. Okay, so the challenge goes back to parents. Create a safe environment for your children to be able to feel powerful, connect with you, and feel safe. Okay, thank you very much.
Perfect way of perfect points to end it. Create a safe environment for your children so that they can feel free to connect, to communicate, to engage. Do you know I play football with my kids? We have fist, what do you call that thing? Is it fist hand wrestle? Yes, we have, and we usually fight. And I say fight, I mean like playful, You must create that thing. And when I'm going to be strict and stern and firm, they know that you have to also. I'm still learning, TJ, I'm still learning. I need to connect with you later on to learn quite a number of things. Time is fast spent. I only asked for 10 minutes, but we have used 16 minutes. At this point, I'll say thank you to everyone. You have been wonderful. You have been marvelous. I would like to say that my job today has come to an end, and I'm going to hand over to the organizers if they have announcement against tomorrow's session. And I hope that everyone that attended today's session have enjoyed yourself. You have learned one thing or the other. If there are questions, please come with them tomorrow, or please feel free to engage the speakers in the chat room. And if I've done a good job, please just give me an emoticon as a clap as I hand over to the organizers. Thank you and good evening. So it looks like, oh, Madam Chikwas. Okay, go ahead, sir.
Yes, I want to thank our anchor, Adeshine, for a very good job, and all our speakers. Madam Fumi also for anchoring the panel session. We thank Mama, yes, Mrs. Buhari. We thank Venerable Dr. Adeyemi Agbelusi and Imam Najim Jimo. We thank the Bull session speakers. We thank Madam Chekwas, we thank Mrs. Apampa and TJ Chuno, my personal person. We thank all of you, and we are hoping that we also thank all the members of the audience. We are hoping that tomorrow you join us at the same time, 4:30. It promises to be same powerful the way it is today, and then we will be able to talk more about some of our programs so that you can know more about how to benefit more. I'm sure that some of us have started joining the Parenting Hive on WhatsApp and on Facebook. We need support for ourselves. When we join these groups, we get the support that we need. When we're getting tired, you know, you can go fast going alone, but you go very far when you go in group. Thank you for coming. God bless you. Bye-bye.